Alright, so Eagles tackle Lane Johnson had some really great things to say about rookie Tyler Steen, and one NFL analyst actually said Nakobe Dean reminds him of Hall of Famer Ray Lewis. Plus, Nick Sirianni is playing mind games? What's that all about? But first, let's run it. Hey guys, I'm Josh and I cover the Birds. So by now, we're all the way aware of the right guard questions and the battle between Cam Jurgens and Tyler Steen, and maybe even Jack Driscoll. I've seen those comments, don't think I don't read them. Although I love having the depth and think Driscoll is serviceable, personally I think it comes down to Beef Jergy or Mean Steen. There is an update to this whole saga though, because Lane Johnson may have hinted at Steen's strong chance to start during an interview with Jakib Sports.
First thing I saw was looking at right away was his foot quickness. I think you can see that left tackle, his footwork, in full display at practice. So I feel like obviously it's different from tackle to guard, a lot more space at tackle. So he's going to have to learn that game, getting inside and, being in a phone booth. But, yeah, man, he has all the traits to be a great player. When you look at him on the hoof, that's where it starts. And then character-wise, smart as attack. Very humble guy, doesn't say a whole lot, but, as he develops, as the confidence develops, I can see him be a great player in a very short time.
Well, okay then. Perhaps Lane wants to play next to a big guy after all. Someone like, say, Landon Dickerson maybe, especially since CBS Sports listed the 24-year-old as one of the under-the-radar players who can be stars in 2023, saying Dickerson has only been in the league 2 years, yet he's already one of the best guards in the game. Selected to a Pro Bowl in 2022, Dickerson allowed just 1 sack and 17 pressures at left guard. He allowed just 4 quarterback hits and a 2.9% pressure rate. So a huge year 3 could be in store for Dickerson, who is already one of the best offensive linemen on arguably the best offensive line in the game. Obviously, I'm a little biased, but I think it's no question who has the best O-line. And remember, just a couple weeks ago, Pro Football Focus also listed the Birds with the #1 offensive line heading into this season, with Lane Johnson being listed as the best player in the unit since he hasn't allowed a sack since the release of the iPhone 11.
Wow. That's a long time.
Pave the Lane doesn't want the spotlight though, since he knows it's about the collective squad, saying having the characters, the jokes, the brotherhood, it's what makes our group so tight. That's why we've lasted so long, because we play for each other. It doesn't hurt to just be insanely good. And despite Dickerson being graded by PFF as the 15th best guard last season, he says there's still a lot to work on, like pass protection, run blocking, stunts and games, screens, vision, so basically everything, because he still feels like he just got here. And both he and left tackle Jordan Mailata share the same mindset.
It's pretty easy when you're chasing greatness, and that's kind of the mindset that I go in with every day, is just chasing greatness. And when you get to when you get to play alongside with Lane and Kelsey, you're forever chasing greatness.
I can't help but think of Stout's Hungry Dogs Run Faster, and I'm also super comfortable with where things are at in the trenches. But what about you guys? While we're talking about chasing greatness, NBC's Dave Zangaro said it's time to see what Nakobe Dean can do, since the second-year linebacker will be the mic and wear the green dot this season, where all eyes will be on him, because landing Dean out of Georgia with the 83rd pick last year was heralded as the steal of the draft. But he was firmly behind TJ Edwards and Kyzir White for his entire rookie season. Edwards and White both had strong training camps and then stayed healthy during the season, which kept Dean on the bench. And then, defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon never carved out a role for the rookie. I think a lot of us would have liked to see Dean get a little more playing time than he did last season, and he would have too, since he said, "I wanted to play." Did I feel like I was ready? Yeah, but at the same time, we were rolling as a team, and the main thing is winning games. Over everything is to win games, win championships. But sitting back and playing my role and doing whatever I could do to make this team better was my main focus. As we all know, it's Dean's time now, since TJ Edwards and Kyzir White departed, but does that mean the Eagles' success falls on his shoulders? According to Bleeding Green Nation's Joseph Santoliquito, it might, or at the very least, if he doesn't play well, the Birds will have to win shootouts in 2023. Although Hall of Fame football writer Ray Didinger doesn't think that'll happen since Dean is going to be really good, saying, "I think he'll be a major player in the Eagles' 2023 picture." The flip side of that argument that we've kind of already alluded to is that you have to replace your leading tackler in Edwards, and while you're not only trying to figure out who replaces replaces that production, Philly has to do it with a new defensive coordinator in Sean Desai. To clarify, I actually think Desai will be better for this team than Gannon, but still worth pointing out you have a new play caller. Yet Didinger believes Dean has a massive responsibility because a lot of that change in production will revolve around him, saying when you look at the whole picture of the Eagles, they're going to rely on Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and I would put Dean right up there really high if the Eagles are going to get back to the Super Bowl. Dean is going to have to take charge out there with a new defensive coordinator and new pieces around him. He's the one who's going to have the radio in his helmet. I've said it before, but I have no doubts in Nakobe, and for those that are counting, I've even gone on record saying Nakobe will flirt with a Pro Bowl type season.
Are you flirting with me?
And in case you forgot, linebacker Nicholas Morrow said back at OTAs that Dean knows his stuff. He knows what's going on, is a good communicator, and doing a great job, which is great to hear, but if we're being honest, tons of outlets have listed the 22-year-old as one of the top breakout candidates this season. There were question marks before he was drafted, though, which Didinger mentioned 3 of those main concerns being a lack of height, which could be a liability on occasion, sometimes being over-aggressive and overrunning plays, and just his overall size limiting his usage to where he may not be an every down linebacker. However, Didinger did go on to say after watching more and more film, all of those concerns dissipated and he definitely sees Nakobe playing every down, which is why he was very excited to see the Eagles take him in the 3rd round last year because Dean reminds him of the Hall of Famer Ray Lewis. Let me say that again to make sure you heard me. Eagles linebacker Nakobe Dean reminds Ray Didinger of Hall of Famer Ray Lewis.
Oh, you crazy.
I know you're questioning it and it may seem like a ridiculous statement, but Didinger said, if he reminds me of someone, it's Ray Lewis. I'm not saying, nor do I mean to compare Nakobe Dean to Ray Lewis, an all-time Hall of Famer, but by the way Dean plays, how instinctive he is, and how he commands, that's what reminds me of Ray Lewis. Nakobe commanded the best college defense I ever saw, and that says a lot. Wherever they put him, to me, he's a natural middle linebacker. He's going to make a lot of plays. You're going to see that with the Eagles. The makings are there for a guy who is going to be a really talented player. And if Dean turns out to be the player I think he's going to be, he'll be a fan favorite here and a guy who plays with fire and passion like Brian Dawkins. Sure, sign me up for a future Hall of Famer and one of the best linebackers to ever play the game. I think it's probably a bit too early to compare to all-time greats, although the potential and similarities of Dean's ability to reach the point of attack before the play arrives, or being a student of the game and studying film and breaking down tendencies is something Dean prides himself in. But what do you guys think? How great can Dean become, and is he one of the key ingredients that can help us get back to the Super Bowl? I think he is, although with this insanely talented D-line, Dave Zingaro feels like his job will be a lot easier and he'll be a playmaker. We've said it before, but this is the moment for Nakobe. Time to prove the doubters wrong. And Eagles defensive tackle Jordan Davis thinks he will because he has a chip on his shoulder and always talks about it. That's what drives him. Davis said seeing him get his opportunity and for us to have an opportunity to play together, to be on the field at the same time, that's amazing. I can't wait to see it. What do you think? How many tackles will Nakobe end up with at the end of this season? Another question I've gotten quite a bit is which Georgia rookie will have a bigger impact? For clarity, we're talking about Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith. No, Keely Ringo hasn't signed yet, but don't let social media get you all worked up. Remember, Landon Dickerson didn't sign until July 26th in 2021. But back to the Georgia rookie impact, Zingaro said it's not completely outrageous to think Nolan Smith could have a more impactful rookie season than Jalen Carter, but it's probably not likely. A lot of that has to do with opportunity. Carter's going to play a ton and will likely be a starter or at the very least the first guy off the bench as an interior pass rusher. It's an important position and he's higher on the depth chart. Whereas Smith, on the other hand, will start off clearly behind Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, and Brandon Graham as the Eagles' 4th edge rusher, but he should have plenty of opportunity on passing downs, which means he has a chance to pick up some sacks as a rookie. Smith could very well have a good rookie season, but I view Carter as a potential defensive rookie of the year candidate. This won't come as a surprise to those of you that have been following me for a while, but to steal a quote from Micah Parsons, I love Nolan. Seriously, he's my favorite rook for sure, and while I agree with Zangaro that JC will get more opportunities, I'm not counting out the impact Nolan could have if Desai starts trying to utilize him all over the field. Go ahead and let me know in the comments what you agree with or why I've lost my mind.
I like you, but you're crazy.
I guess I need to play more mind games like Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni's been doing. In case you have no clue what I'm talking about, former Washington VP of Football Operations Vinny Serrato told SI.com, you gotta play the mind games because a lot of this game is between the ears and confidence is a huge factor. A guy can play so much faster and everything else if he's got a clean mind. And the biggest thing is if you're confident in yourself, you just see a different guy. In case you're wondering about the context of that, the different guy Serrato was referring to was referencing Sirianni back in OTAs where he singled out a particular standout.
I have no problem singling one guy out that I think's just done a phenomenal job this offseason is Quez Watkins. I love his attitude of And I've said this to him, and I have no problem saying it here. I kind of sense from him, he's never said this, but I kind of sense, oh, some people think I stink. Wait.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought Sirianni's comment was a little odd when referencing Quez like that and felt like it's probably somewhere in the middle. But this is what good coaches do. They understand what makes each player tick, so you say certain things to one guy that may not necessarily work for another individual. Perhaps the head coach said that because Quez is getting a raise. Yeah, so thanks to proven performance escalator in the NFL's collective bargaining agreement, a player drafted in rounds 3 through 7 can earn a raise 3 different ways. And not to bore you with details, I'll leave a link in the description, but basically since Quez played more than 35% of snaps, his salary bumps up from $1 million to $2.7 million fully guaranteed. Good for him, and hopefully he can live up to Sirianni's hype. But going back to Serrato's comments, I don't really like the whole mind games choice of words. However, it's not as bad as the Inquirer's Marcus Hayes going on Jakib Sports and saying Jalen Hurts is insecure.
My observation with Jalen Hurts is he's probably the most insecure athlete in Philadelphia who uses the insecurity to his advantage.
What do you guys think, though? Is this an actual mind trick or simply good coaching?
You tricked me.
It's probably just semantics and not that big of a deal, but I guess when I hear mind trick, I think of a guy who doesn't care about another individual, whereas being a good coach can still mean using tact when talking about players, but you don't view them as a number. I don't know, maybe I did a mind trick on myself and I'm overthinking this whole thing. This has been the Philly Special.